Right, we're looking at a reggae draft of a Three Little Birds version in GarageBand software, and it's been inputted in well, but we're going to be looking at any different ways that we can try and improve it and develop it to get it to the next stage. So let's have a listen so far. This is coming through the MacBook speakers, so it might not be that clear, but just to get a rough idea. Okay, so let's stop there. It's not quite finished at the end there. So it's been inputted in well. It's generally all pretty much in time, but one of the big things that we need to introduce is a bit more sense of contrast, because overall the mood does stay the same most of the time. And one of the reasons behind that is the drums. The drums are quite consistent the whole time, so I think we want to introduce some breaks in the drums, some variations, maybe a few fills. I like that this fills in at the start, but we need a bit more. Add in a bit more variation. So let's just take the first few bars as an example. So let's take those 2 bars. Let's just isolate the percussion. I like this shaker, but it doesn't come back then until really far in. So I think we should reintroduce that maybe around here. Tambourine's nice addition. I think these are the 2 parts that we could change up a bit. I'm not sure about this loose cymbal sound. So if we open up this track, it's these 2 up here. I think we need to bring it down to maybe a hi-hat sound. Put this down as well. I'm not sure about this double snare as well every time. I think that kind of rim shot is a lot more effective. Let's introduce a bit more hi-hat. So if you copy the hi-hat idea, hold down Option or Alt on your keyboard. Generally Option, keep it held down, and it will then copy the part. Keep it down, hold the Option down. It can be a little bit more of an interesting rhythm on the hi-hat, To make it a bit more percussive, hold down Option again, something like that. Let's try. Probably a bit too much there at the moment. We could also vary them by putting them still a closed hi-hat sound, but it's at least not ringing. This riff going along on the electric piano and the skanks, the chords on the wide suitcase. I quite like this on piano. I think it needs to be a bit more of a short sounding chord. When it loads. Making it a little less legato and a bit shorter like that. And then let's think about this sound. The example I showed you before, I did it on an organ sound, but I think we could have it on more than one sound. So if you go to organs, doesn't like that. So if we go into this, double click, Command A, so we need to just drag that up. What you could also do is hold down Option, just drag it up. We duplicate it like that. Let's see how that sounds. A lot for it to take. The system is not liking that. I'm going to save it just in case it crashes. So now at the start, this is what our piece sounds like at the moment. If I hear it very well, it's really glitching out at the moment. Right, because we can't really play back, I'm going to upload that on a separate track so that we can see. Now this is my message to you on the brass here. I think what we need here is to cut out the percussion. So to do this, if you select that part, you can then press Command T to make a cut. You can see this is already cut. So I'm going to keep that lot going on. I'm going to cut that out. But I think what I might do is bring in this again that we had from earlier. So hold down Option and drag it. And hopefully we'll get some playback now. So I've copied it to the wrong track. So I'm going to bring that down. Let's try that playback. Dropping at the bass there as well could be good, so we have full impact. So again, press Command T and you can then just stop that. Okay, so for this brass idea, you can see the trombones have got quite a slow attack. It's kind of going wah. So we might want to add in a harmony on the trumpets. So just shorten that. We'll copy that up. Select, double click, run the trumpet. So we're filling that out a bit more with harmonies. So let's lead into that here. That sounds with the contrast. So now, because we've had that time off from the bass, with that short fill coming in, there's a little bit more of a climax leading you back into the chorus here now. So that then plays out for that amount, and then this is now a repeat from that section. Now there's other things that we could do. So for instance, with the trombones, trumpets, we could now play around with the automation. So say for instance the trombones. If we think about starting around here, we could have this rising up. So we could, maybe that's too early to start, maybe start here. Okay, so we're just going to record 2 chords in there just to demonstrate automation. Hopefully the lagging won't stop us from recording. Okay, so you can see I played too early there, so double click, delete this, Command A, quantize. Now we don't need that bit there, but if we now, without the keyboard, the piano typing keyboard up, just press A on your keyboard for automation, and you can see now the screen's gone dark and we can play around with these different parameters. Okay, so for volume, if you just double click where you want it to be, these dots come up, and you can then have a crescendo just on that one track, so it has this effect. Maybe that's coming up too fast. You might want to add in another bit like that. Still seems a little bit loud. It comes through quite strong, that. Maybe something like that. That sounds a bit unrealistic, doesn't it, there? So you can, if you zoom in as well, you can really be a bit more careful of how you have that come in. I'm going to have a bit of a crescendo through that note, but I don't want that much. Something like that. Okay, so to get rid of the screen, just press A again for automation. That goes back. Now there's a few things earlier that we saw that I wanted to bring back in, like this shaker. I think hold down Option. Let's drag that to come in from there maybe. And again, now we don't want it playing through the whole of that, so we're going to just drag that back to there. And then I think we'll keep that going there. So we've got the claps and snaps performance coming in there. So and so on. Hold down Option again, drag. Oh, so I didn't hold it down the whole time there, you see. So it did not copy properly. Alright, so now for this trumpet here, what we might want to do is do some harmonies here. So say we want to just duplicate this track. What you can do is just hold down Option and drag the track down below. And in theory, it will create another version of that track. Now, what it also does is duplicates all the recordings on that track. So I've just deleted that. So I'm going to press Command K. Try doing some harmonies in there. Now, because of this lagging, it's really making recording very difficult. So this might not work so well, but we're just going to experiment and then play around with some notes. Now, if you're not feeling so confident with that, as that wasn't the best recording, and I want to make sure I completely match the rhythm, just cut that bit by pressing Command T. Command T again, hold down Option, drag it down, and then we're going to manually edit it. So with this, I'm taking it out, so something like that. On the F then, I think. It's being changed and it's not matching up. See, I've made a mistake there. So that is on the beat there, that second bit there. For some reason it's been copied across wrong. So you can see that this bit is slightly early. So make sure it's the right place. And 24. Try that. Something like that. So you might not want the new trumpet that loud, just as a kind of harmony in the background to not overpower the main line. But that could be a nice addition to add in there. So something along these lines, leading into that with the build up with the automation on the trombone. argue there's too much of the riff in this anyway. Okay, so then again, with the percussion here, with these lines, I think if you take this as an example, we need more of a percussive feel coming through. I think all these shakes and stuff are great, but I think still we can have a bit more variation on the snares and then adding in a few more fills. So the job would be now to continue to try and introduce a bit more contrast, because overall the mood does still seem a bit samey. Okay, so because it's not that clear, I'm going to load it up on a separate track as an example so you can hear it properly. But this is the beginnings of trying out a bit of automation in there in the trombones, harmonies in the trumpets, changing up the hi-hat to being a closed hi-hat here, continuing this shaker idea and creating a bit more contrast by cutting out the bass, the riff and the drums at times to create a bit more impact between the different sections to try and develop and continue to improve our piece.